Car 3, the Lendich Commodore, leading the race after sitting back in second place for a couple of laps. He got in front of Neville Crichton and has managed to pull away in the wet. He is, as Reg Cook has already pointed out, an acknowledged master of wet driving. Trevor McLean and another Commodore is doing well to stay behind him. Derek McDonald in third place in the big Charger, and then Gary Sprague in the Falcon. Franovic, Trevor McLean, McDonald and Sprague.
Well, the rain is certainly affecting the characteristics of this race. This race we would have expected to be in a close battle between the Falcons and the Commodores, but because of the masterly driving fashions of Robbie Franovic in the rain, he's managed to pull out a considerable lead on the Falcon. The Falcon, being a big, heavier car, could be a bit of a problem for him.
Let's just have a look at the start of this race, recorded just a few moments ago, and how they got off the grid. This was the sprint down to the first corner, which Neville Crichton won. Anderson on the outside, McLean, and then Robbie Franovic back in fourth place.
Yes, Neville Crichton did extremely well to come off the second position on the grid to come out and lead this race. He's doing very well. The track isn't wet just yet. It gets wet very quickly, though. And you notice that Anderson there gets a good run into second position, too. And the pole man is in a lot of trouble back there. The white Commodore, he's third in the race at the moment. And he's obviously in a lot of trouble on the rain. Trevor McLean.
See just how slippery it's getting. The big E49 Charger going off the circuit. We're back now live with Robbie Franovic leading this race and pulling out quite a substantial lead. 15 laps to go in the 20-lapper.
This car's handling particularly well on the wet. I've noticed, Robbie, it's not understeering too much, not oversteering. It's going around the corners particularly well, and obviously the car suits the conditions.
Not a lot of traction there at all. He's driving in anywhere where there's anything other than straight road. He's driving an opposite block almost all the time.
Well, he virtually has to, because as we mentioned sometime we're off camera, that they qualified at 1:15 and they're doing 1:29, so they're losing 14 seconds a lap, and the circuit's that slow and that slippery, they have to be extremely careful. And you'll notice when Robbie comes into corners, there's a dry patch, and he has to stay with it. Here he is, he's keeping in the dry, and he's got to stay inside those marks. And if he gets in the wet as he goes into corner, he'll be a lot of trouble. And later on, when we see Robbie, he's going down the back straight now. And when he comes out of the hairpin later, you will notice this particularly.
Robbie Franovic is putting up the quickest laps, and the quickest lap so far is 1:28.1. And to give you an indication, that is 28.1, and he qualified at 1:15.4.
Now Robbie's going to a particularly dangerous area of the circuit. He's going into braking, and this corner is very wet down at the hairpin. There's oil up from early race, and you can see the rain is pouring down out of the sky. See, he's oversteer there. He has to be very, very careful that if he puts on too much power, he'll go completely round. And he's getting out very wide now, and he's got to try and stay in the dry tracks. You'll notice there's sort of a black area there, and that's what he's got to stay inside. Now going outside around this chap, this competitor, won't be too easy. Yeah, Robbie's got to be very careful. Oh, he's got a slide on there. Robbie, you'll have to be careful. You'll be off the circuit. Robbie, well, he won't do that next lap. It's getting wetter and wetter, and as he's driving around, he's finding out how bad it is. He's got a massive lead, though. Robbie's wet weather driving expertise is definitely coming to the fore here. This is how this lead's come out.
Getting almost too sideways over Dunlop there over the hill, and that's not really a place you want to get sideways.
No, because obviously the circuit's changing every time they come around. It's only 1:29 from the time they go round, but it's obviously changing every time they come around. Second position is Trevor McLean. He was the pole man, but
another indication of the ability of Robbie Franovic in the wet is that he has just reeled off 3 laps at 1:28.3, 1:28.2, 1:28.4. So very, very consistent at that speed in the wet.
Yes. Well, I think so.
Robbie Franovic still leading this race by a country mile, getting up amongst the tail end traffic now. There's Trev McLean. Trev McLean second. McDonald in the Charger, still back there in third. And Gary Sprague obviously having all sorts of difficulty trying to get past the Charger.
Oh, Trevor McLean, a lot of trouble there. They're going to have to be very careful. Trevor McLean is charged through into second position. He sees Robbie. He's probably closing in on him a bit now, and he wants to try to get up the front, but he's liable to fall off the circuit while he's doing it.
Lapping back markers now, Trevor McLean.
It's very dangerous lapping back markers because quite often you have to go into a part of the circuit that's extremely slippery, and it's not something you want to do, and you have to be extremely careful.
I'm surprised, Reg, that Gary Sprague isn't getting up there a lot more quickly.
Well, Gary Sprague is in a 6-litre Falcon. It's a lot bigger and a lot heavier, and on a dry circuit there isn't quite the difference between the 5-litre Commodore and the 6-litre Falcon. But in the wet circuit, being a lot heavier car, you can't get adhesion around the corners, and that's where Gary's getting in trouble. Also,
quite an excess of power of wet conditions.
Yes, notice that Gary Sprague and Derek McDonald. Gary Sprague is just past Derek McDonald, but they're wheel spinning on that back straight. Here they are in a straight line, and they're wheel spinning all over the place, so it's a very dangerous situation for these drivers. Franovic still in the lead, car number 3, the whole Commodore advantage.
Now that Gary Sprague has got past McDonald in the Charger, I think he might start to close in just a little on Trev McLean in second place, because there was no way you can get into any kind of passing manoeuvre in this kind of condition.
Yeah, Franovic car's handling particularly well there, and Robbie, this is a tricky corner. He's gone at understeer. See his front wheels changing direction all the time there. Oh, Robbie, he's if you watch those front wheels on that corner, you can just see all the sorts of trouble that Robbie's in. In a way, he's driving like a rally driver in the rain. In the metal, you drive. The kind of driving that Robbie needs now is like a rally driver. He's got to change from one lock to the other all the time. Here he is oversteering, and now he's got to turn into the corner, keep it out of the water. There's a lot of puddles around there. Now it's understeering. Now, when he comes out of this corner, he'll probably be fairly wide, hit the judder bars. He's oversteering there. Now down the straight, look, the car's not even stable in a straight line. It's that wet out there.
A few months ago, Reg, when you were involved in writing the regulations for this class, I know I was one of the biggest knockers of it and said that it wouldn't work as an equivalent competition. And I really have to eat my words, because the competition between Commodores, Falcons, Chargers, all sorts of machinery has really turned out to be excellent competition.
Yes, if it hadn't been dry, you'd have seen all these people challenging for the front at the moment. And you're right, the rules have been written, and what we have is an equal situation between lots of makes of motor cars. And the only reason why you've got one man out the front at the moment is because he's better at handling the rain than the other people. And Robbie got his lead early, and just as well he did, because the other two behind him are not too far away.
There's Trev McLean now.
Yes, Trev McLean, and his car doesn't handle, even on the straights here. When he's changing gears, you notice he's getting out of line, and Gary Sprague is closing right in on him. Gary's in third place, and he will be anxious to take over second position. Look at Trevor McLean out in the water, and he's in all sorts of trouble. I'd say if we follow him over this top corner, he's going to be getting very wide. He's desperate to stop Gary Sprague.
It's just as I thought, though. Once Gary Sprague got past Derek McDonald, he's closing in fast.
Yes, he is. Gary Sprague obviously wants to beat Trevor McLean.
Halfway in the race now. Robbie Franovic leading by a substantial margin. Trev McLean, the man in your picture there, second. This is Gary Sprague, who is third. But closing up on second place, Trev McLean.
Yes, and he's driving well, because driving this big 6-litre Ford Falcon around in these conditions isn't an easy job to do.
If anybody's got experience in this kind of car, Gary Sprague has.
Yes, he's well over 30 years of age. He's been driving all the time since a very young man. His father's an experienced driver, and Ernie Sprague, and he knows how to get the best out of his car in these conditions, and he's closing right up to Trevor McLean. I'll probably give him 4 or 5 laps, and he's challenging for McLean, but it won't be easy for him to get past. You notice coming down the back straight here, that car it's wheel spinning on the straights. It's actually very unstable down there.
Just looking at the lap times again, Rich. Robbie Franovic is reeling off lap times in the 128s, lap after lap after lap.
Yes, well, he hasn't got the pressure on him, and obviously Robbie can keep that time, and if he keeps it, he can stay in the lead. These other two behind him, their cars aren't handling quite as well, and they're in trouble.
Well, it's actually quite surprising to see somebody produce lap times as consistent as that in conditions like this.
Yes, Robbie's driving ability again, but you notice that his car's getting untidy now, and what's happening is the rubber and oil that's coming off these cars is racing, is mixing with the water, and it's probably going to get slipperier as it goes on.
So we would expect him to slow down or end up in the grass. But you can see he's found a fairly dry patch in that section now.
He's a bit wider than he was before, though. Yeah.
all the traffic going across that S section has produced at least a line that is comparatively dry.
He's having to use a lot of road, though. Yes, well, as we said before, in a rally car, you get a car that's unstable on the straights, and as we're watching Robbie's car down there, look, it's not even stable now. He's driving like a rally driver. Now, Robbie is an accomplished rally driver. He's accomplished in the circuit, he's accomplished in the wet, and he's accomplished in a rally car. And having his rally experience will actually be helping him now. If we see Robbie come out of this hairpin into the next corner, viewers, just watch the front wheels of his car. It will be a little bit unstable because of the wetness. Now, he's just tried to squash out that charade, who was giving a bit of trouble, but as he goes through this corner, he's starting to slide out there, had to put opposite lock on, and he has to work the steering wheel. Now, that's the rally driving tactics or skills, I should say, that Robbie's got. Now, look at him now. He's having to go oversteer. Now he's had to turn the steering wheel the other way. He's working very hard in that car.
And to a large extent, steering it on the throttle.
Yeah, he's having to use, as you say, Tony, the throttle and the steering wheel at the moment.
This amount of wheel spin and with that amount of horsepower, a large part of your steering comes from how hard you push the gas pedal down. Robbie Franovic doing it in style, though. This ANZ Touring Car Series, he came out and was very, very determined to win at Pukekohe. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of argument between the Commodore drivers and the Falcon drivers and who's legal and who's not legal. Robbie Franovic wanted to put it all behind him and win at Pukekohe here. Trev McLean still sitting in there in second place and obviously handling better through that S section than Gary Sprague's Falcon.
Yeah, the difference between, as we said, the weight of the Commodore being a lot lighter than the Falcon, and Gary Sprague is, even we go down the straight, you see his car isn't going that straight. They're having a problem with the puddles on the back straight. I'd sooner be Trevor McLean at the moment, driving a 6-litre Falcon whilst it was one at Bay Park. Wouldn't be the ideal car to be driving out in that rain at the moment.
To give you an idea of speeds, Franovic still reading off times in the 128s. The last one, 128.8, and that is 112.3 kilometres an hour.
And still 13 seconds a lap slower than pole practice time. And here we have, it's very close now between Trevor McLean and the Commodore, and Gary Sprague closed right up down the back straight, and it's getting the pressure that Gary Sprague's putting on Trevor McLean now will be enormous, and one of these drivers could quite easily make a mistake and end off in the ground. Trevor McLean in a lot of trouble. His car is not so good there, but as Tony says, in the dry parts of the circuit, it handles particularly. Gary Sprague is clearly winding up to pass.
He's having a go.
His adrenaline's up. There's 7 laps to go, and he doesn't want to finish third. He'll be out to finish second if he can.
Gary Sprague is the man who won the race at Bay Park on Monday after John Morton and Wayne Wilkinson virtually cancelled themselves out in a little tussle in which this car driven.
And he's back in 4th position is Wayne Wilkinson. 5th is 3-litre Capri.
Actually, I'm surprised, Rich, that 3-litre Capri, Bill McFarland's, isn't further up. Very competitive car, and theoretically should have been quicker in the wet than the Commodore.
Yes, I think obviously power does count. People reckon that little cars go best in the rain, but we quite often find that the big cars, the power helps them get away from the little cars. But that Bill McFarland from Dunedin is going very well. And here's the lead, 2nd position. Well, Gary Sprague's done it. He's got more power down the back straight, and he's done a very brave thing. He's outbraked Trevor McLean's Commodore down the back straight. So it's Gary Sprague number 2 and Trevor McLean number 3.
Let's have a look at them coming round this little piece. Gary Sprague very quickly caught up on Trev McLean once he got past Derek McDonald's Charger.
Well, now Trevor McLean's got someone to follow. It'll be interesting to see if he can hold on to Gary Sprague. But over this particular part, Trevor McLean's car wasn't too good, and as we see, he's got trouble there. Gary Sprague got the bit of a lead he wants now, and he'll probably be able to pull away.
In fact, Sprague pulling away quite quickly. An indication of how difficult it is to pass in these conditions, because you can't, if you get wide, you're in the puddles of water, and if you brake too hard, you're aquaplane, and really it's very difficult to do anything at all about somebody in front of you until you can outbrake them or be braver at the end of the back straight.
Which is what Gary Sprague had to be brave at the end of the back straight. We noticed that this particular part of the corner, which is what we call railway, in the old railway corner, is that Trevor McLean is able to close up every single time.
15 seconds now between Franovic in first place and Sprague in second place.
As we see him on the right-hand side of the picture now, and third is Trevor McLean right behind him.
And Robbie Franovic still reeling off 129s, 128s. Very consistent lap times. He's perhaps slowed just slightly, but with 15 seconds gap between he and Gary Sprague, he can afford to relax just slightly.
It was interesting. Yes, his car's handling very cleanly. Now, Robbie's obviously been able to relax a bit, take it a bit easier. Yes, oh, Robbie. No, Robbie's, I take that back, just as you say that Robbie's taking it easy. He's out there sliding all over the circuit.
Gary Sprague is the only other competitor under 130, along with Robbie Franovic.
The right behind Franovic is a laser sport of Murray Starnes from Palmerston North. And you'll notice that through the corners here, that this laser sport isn't losing any time to the big car at all. In fact, he's been able to, if anything, close in on Robbie since that last straight. As soon as they get on the straight here, the big Commodore will be able to pull right away from the laser sport of Murray Starnes.
In fact, the lap times of the quickest laser sports are only 132s, very little behind the big Falcons and Commodores.
And yet in practice they would have probably been 10 seconds a lap slower, and yet here in the rain they're only 5 seconds a lap slower. So that's the little cars don't lose as much in the rain.
Robbie's still reeling off those laps. Lap after lap, 129.6, slowed just a little. And 14 seconds now between he and Gary Sprague, but not really enough left of the race.
Robbie might be winning the ANZ touring car race at Pukekohe, but what's happened, he has never won the Benson and Hedges. And this may be some form of consolation for Robbie, but there won't be, I don't think it'll be enough for him. Robbie would be a specialist at performing at the Grand Prix meeting at Pukekohe. He's always done well. He was the first New Zealander once in a single-seater. And he's always gone well where the publicity is. And this is the biggest motorsport meeting in New Zealand in the year. And it's usually where Robbie excels.
He needs the crowds and needs the adrenaline, and I don't think there's anybody in motorsport, I don't think there's a driver in motorsport who's ever been successful who was backward in coming forward.
Yes, you're right. The crowds are what gets Robbie's adrenaline going, and that's exactly what's happened. He's doing amazingly well. Those are ferocious positions. As you notice, when he changed gear then, his car slewed from side out. He's changed gears again, his car's slewing again. But Robbie might have a limited slip diff problem.
For him to catch up, and this Robbie makes a big mistake. And the other interest is that Derek McDonald is having a good battle with Trev McLean back there. Derek McDonald suddenly picked up his lap times, and he's into the 129s now.
Yes, well, that'll make it interesting. You notice that laser sport there, Murray Starnes, once again, isn't really losing much time to the Commodores in the wet.
So there's Gary Sprague in second place. Have a look back to third and see if Trev McLean has managed to hang on to it. Having all sorts of trouble getting past.
Derek McDonald's come through into third place.
Yes,
well,
he's
driving very well.
Yes, he has. We saw a lap time 2 laps ago, Reg, and he picked it up from 131s to 129.
Yes, well, at the way that he's coming through now, he's obviously not a very experienced driver, and a few laps in the rain, he's learning the circuit very quickly. And I think he's too far behind Gary Sprague, but if he keeps learning the way he is, maybe he'll get right up behind Gary Sprague and take second place with him.
Look at McDonald now in the Charger.
Notice that this is the experience of some of the rain drivers. Gary Sprague has just lapped a 5-litre Commodore, and that's the difference between a good rain driver and someone who isn't very experienced in the rain at all.
Number 9, Derek McDonald in the big 5.6-litre Charger, which is getting quicker as the track dries up just a little. And he, as we said, picked up his lap times from 132s down to 129.
Yes, that car that Gary Sprague had passed was Downs in a number 64, a red Commodore. And there's a big difference between the dry and the wet driving. If this had been a dry race, then you wouldn't have seen a Falcon lapping a Commodore.
That's third place, Derek McDonald with a big 5.6-litre Charger. Which again is, I know I said it before, Reg, but it surprises me that that car is going as well as this in the wet.
Yes, in the 4th position, Trevor McLean behind him. I think Derek McDonald's obviously got a set of tyres and suspension that suit these conditions, and he's obviously a good driver. You know, he's using all the road there. He's controlling his power slides. His prize is leaning properly in the corner.
And 5th place is Bill McFarlane in the 3-liter Capri from Dunedin.
Back is Robbie
Franovic. Well, I think he'd be happy with today's performance. He's been out and showed as many people as you ever get to see at Pukekohe Circuit in Auckland that he can drive in the wet.
I think it's Steve Wiley and the Mazda cutting the grass there.
Thought it might have been Ron Middleton.
Yes. Well, look at that laser sport of Murray Starnes holding on to that Falcon. These little cars are not losing much at all, really.
Gary Sprague up the outside of the Mazda RX-3.
With Derek McDonald and his V8 Charger not that far behind, and he looks like he's closing in.
Well, Gary Sprague is closing in on Robbie Franovic, but only very slowly. 13 seconds between them now. 5 laps ago it was 15 seconds, so that's not a fast enough improvement.
I think Robbie's probably slowing down a bit more than Gary Sprague coming up to catch him.
There's Robbie, race leader.
Well, after the disastrous fence and hedges they had here, this is should be a lovely victory for Robbie. His car was very quick in B&H, and here he is out here doing exactly what he wanted to do, win a race.
Well, on the final lap, Robbie Franovic.
Number 1 on the road.
John Morton drove this car at Bay Park on Monday. Had a little shunt with Wayne Wilkinson and the Crichton Commodore. And they virtually cancelled each other out. Gary Sprague went away at the XD Falcon to win.
He just passed Lamont, the laser sport, there before. And he's going past Bryce Platt now, who is another ex-Shell Sport driver in a laser sport. Notice these cars have a lot of trouble about this corner changing gears.
Very, very unstable, even in a straight line.
Yeah, that rain has made that circuit just incredibly slippery.
Which is going to be very interesting very shortly after this race for the Grand Prix.
Yes. Now, Robbie has got half a lap to go. He mustn't make a mistake. It will still be easy for him to fall off, but he's got a big lead, and I think he'll coast to his win. Robbie
Franovic still lapping at 129. Been remarkably consistent throughout the race. Gary Sprague closing very, very slowly, but it won't be enough as they come round this time. Robbie Franovic will get the checkered flag ahead of Gary Sprague.
Robbie doing a great act. He's got to be in a... That was the last placing fall-off. It's definitely going to be a win for Robbie.
Robbie Franovic wins the ANZ Touring Car race at Pukekohe, the second of the series. Gary Sprague will be second. Gary Sprague coming down now in the big Falcon. He leads the points overall with a second today and a win at Bay Park. And there's Derek McDonald in the big Charger.